Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Crashed FTX seeking return of donations. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 3rd January 2023. Details when we return.
Win prizes weekly with the Dutch Lady Christmas promotion. You can win hampers, kitchen appliances, and much more. Here's how to win. Visit our Facebook and Instagram pages weekly to retrieve the recipe. Follow the recipe. Submit the final dish via email at dlchristmaspromotion@gmail.com, along with proof of purchase of Dutch Lady UHT or 410 evaporated milk. Recipes will be judged based on the display. Winners will be selected each week to battle for the grand prize in a live cooking show hosted by the creative chef. Look out for the Dutch Lady Santa Claus at supermarkets island-wide. The promotion runs from November 16th to December 21st, 2022. And once again, we'd like to congratulate the winner of last year's Dutch Lady Christmas promotion, Miss Brianna Bihari. Dutch Lady Milk, proudly distributed by Hubbard's Agency.
Welcome back. FTX taking steps to have donations returned. Details in this ZNS News item.
Cryptocurrency exchange FTX has begun taking steps to have donations made by its former management team returned. According to U.S. reports, under the FTX founder and former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX donated millions of dollars to politicians and charities, and now it wants it all back. FTX reportedly intends to begin legal action before the bankruptcy court in the United States to require the return of those monies, with interest accruing from the date of action commenced. The company also shared an email, FTX Repay at ftx.us, that persons who receive donations can use to voluntarily return the money. Bankman-Fried was reportedly one of the largest political donors in the United States, giving to both Democratic and Republican causes. He also donated to charities here in the Bahamas. The 30-year-old is currently out on $250 million bail and under house arrest at his parents' home in the United States after being extradited to the U.S. from the Bahamas last week. He's facing 8 fraud-related charges connected to the collapse of FTX. His trial is set to begin in a New York court on January 3rd of 2023, and if convicted on all counts, Bankman-Fried could spend the rest of his life in prison.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has signaled his intention to take civil action against the purveyors of an online Facebook page. Solange Alfred of HTS News Force fills us in.
The cloak and shadows of Facebook may not be enough for some to hide behind anymore. The social media platform offers users, if they choose, anonymity to post unabashed views and sentiments. But what happens when a post goes too far? On Wednesday, December 28th, the Office of the Prime Minister rubbished allegations leveled against Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, reportedly from a United PAC Facebook page post dated 27th December 2022.
The post stated that Honorable Pierre, quote, in less than 2 years in government, like his predecessor Kenny Anthony, had been awarded a brand new white BMW and a brand new house at Cap Estate by well-known businessmen. End of quote. These statements are false and made maliciously to damage and injure the good reputation and character of the Honorable Prime Minister, both in his professional and private stations.
According to Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mondi Lewis, Pierre will be pursuing legal action against United PAC St. Lucia. She also clears the air on Pierre's vehicle and house ownership.
It is a fact that Honorable Pierre is the owner of a white BMW sedan, which he purchased before the 2021 general elections, and for which he makes monthly mortgage payments to a local financial lending institution. The Prime Minister does not own, nor was he gifted, a brand new house at Cap Estate, and has remained a resident at his property in Waterworks Road, Castries, where he grew up. These malicious attacks seek to denigrate the unsullied name of the Honorable Prime Minister and will not be tolerated. The Prime Minister has therefore instructed his lawyers to pursue legal action against United PAC St. Lucia, the United Workers' Party, and all other pages which shared the defamatory content.
The government leader has resided for decades at the same address in the home built by his mother, a school teacher, and father, a policeman, when he was a young child. The Office of the Prime Minister, in the press release, encourages all members of the public to engage in the constructive criticism of the executive and hold elected office holders to account for their policies and conduct. However, the incumbent warns that there are civil legal consequences for leveling baseless and unfounded defamatory allegations intended to maliciously besmirch the character of public officials.
We encourage citizens to act responsibly in their thoughts, words, and deeds, and to call out all those who peddle lies and, when they do so, cowardly hide their identities behind fake names and organizations.
Moreover, ex-Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony also reportedly intends to pursue legal action against the aforementioned organizations for similar unproven allegations made against him. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Here is Solange Alfred again with a report that St. Lucia's Minister for Tourism, Dr. Ernest Hilaire, and his pronouncement that the department intends to roll out a plan in the new year to boost regional travel into St. Lucia.
2023 is set to be a year of action for St. Lucia to fully repair its tourism industry, hard hit by the pandemic. Minister for Tourism Dr. Ernest Hilaire, in his holiday address to the nation, cited a lack of air travel capacity in the Caribbean as an issue the government is committed to addressing.
Stayover arrivals in October was almost 290,000, which is a mere 60,000 less than our record of 2019. This shortfall is due to the lack of air travel capacity in the region since LIAT has not recovered from the effects of the pandemic. Going into the new year, we are committed to rebuilding and growing regional air travel and working alongside any efforts to achieve this goal.
The tourism minister described regional visitor arrivals as a critical segment of St. Lucia's tourism market. He says the government will move with haste to tackle the shortfall in the new year.
Outside of this, the demand for St. Lucia is on the rise across the world, and we will continue to build on this by increasing our efforts in those markets that have been our greatest contributors and breaking into those that are not usually a great contributor. With the growing demand for our Fair Helen and stayover arrivals on the rebound, it is critical that St. Lucians benefit more from the tourist dollar.
Despite the slow return of regional airlift, the tourism minister remains buoyed by the exceptional international capacity, with the return of a number of air carriers in 2022.
We saw the return of several airlines to our airports, including the return of Sunwing from Canada and Virgin Atlantic and TUI from the United Kingdom. This truly helped bolster our airlift capacity in what has been a profound rebound year after the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Hilaire says the tourism ministry will continue to develop the prized industry to ensure the benefits redound to all players in the economic mainstay. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. A desire for security and safety was among the cadre of wishes for 2023 by President Paula May Weeks of Trinidad and Tobago in her New Year's message to the nation. The message was posted to her social media pages late on All Year's Night. TTT News has more.
A desire for security and safety was among a cadre of wishes for 2023 by President Paula May Weeks in her New Year's message to the nation. The message was posted to her social media pages late on All Year's Night.
President Weeks said what she wished for herself in the coming year is no different from what she wishes for all of our citizens. She said her overarching wish for us as a nation is for grace and peace. In her words, I fear we have become a savage people, lines drawn between ethnicities, political affiliations, the haves and the have-nots, worker and employer, citizens and migrants have solidified into intolerance, impatience, unkindness, vitriol, and in many cases, downright nastiness. No longer do we seem to be able to have differences of opinion without descending into vicious, no-holds-barred attacks on the individual rather than a debate or discussion on the issues. We appear to have lost all courteous goodwill, civility, decency, and respect, and are fast becoming a brutish and hostile society. Among her other wishes going into the new year, further stabilizing of the economy and more programs to address issues of mental health and domestic violence. She wishes for courage in the face of any suffering and adversity, considering that there is a possibility that things might get worse before they get better. Taking note of the 17th century proverb, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride, President Weeks said beyond mere wishing, we need to put some determined effort towards realizing our dreams and aspirations. She urged, rather than focusing exclusively on what others need to do, let us all concentrate on our duty and responsibility and strive to make the life and society we want for ourselves. And sharing her mantra for the next 12 months of be ever thankful, be ever truthful, be ever peaceful, President Weeks invited citizens to borrow or create their own for 2023. Stacey Ann Providence, TDT News.
The national community of Trinidad and Tobago, meantime, continues to extend condolences to the family of veteran Calypsonian Leroy Caliste, also known as the Black Stallion. Some of those who were closest to him spoke on the morning edition of TV6 earlier last week to share their fondest memories of the Caribbean man. Nicole M. Ramani of TV6 News reports.
Accomplishment and value. A somber day for many. A massive loss as described by some. A man described as a lyricist, a legend, and a pioneer of the calypso art form is remembered fondly by those close to him. On the TV6 morning edition, five-time calypso queen Shirlene Hendrickson told host Marlon Hopkinson that she was pleased to see Black Stallion's accomplishment and value recognized.
We have lost a cultural legacy, physically, but his music, by Calypso Stories Are Told, is what we now have to embrace even more than we would have done and disseminate each line of every calypso so that the generations to come. I felt proud seeing these statements being made not only by fellow Calypsonians and maybe citizens, our Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and even more so, Prime Minister of Barbados, Madam Mayor Motley.
Veteran musician Joey Rivers said he felt honored to have worked with Black Stallion.
I was fortunate enough around 2010 to be selected by him to be his accompanist on the smaller gigs, because he would never sing with pre-recorded tracks and so on, always live accompaniment. So when it wasn't a full band, I would accompany him with a djembe player, just acoustic guitar and djembe, and from 2010 until, he was active. And so, I could attest to that, not only as a professional musician and educator, but having worked with him. If I still use his approach and management team to, that's us there.
Brian London, the reigning extempo monarch, described him as a father figure.
After I got into Calypso, I would always go across to let him hear what I have, and he'd always give me the advice. So he was actually that father figure without me having a father figure. He never once turned me away from a listening ear or giving me that sense of comfort. And seeing that my mother was in a wheelchair, he was there. He would always pass across on his vibes sometimes just to see what's going on and stuff. So he was that, and Anybody who knows the black man will tell that his home, where he lived, was always an open home.
Last but not least, sharing his thoughts and memories of the Black Stallion was head of Tuco's South Central Zone, Ras Commander.
But Black Man was more than a calypsonian, you know. He was a quintessential artist, entertainer, a griot of a different level.
Nicole M. Romani, TV6 News.
The Food Fair Shop and Win promotion is back, better than ever. We are giving away $30,000 in prizes with the promotional activities you know and love, like find the misplaced items, spin the wheel, and other exciting in-store activities. You can win hams, turkeys, vouchers, cooking gas from Sol, and lunch packages from the Creative Chef. The promotion runs from November 16th to December 23rd, 2022. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.